everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about Face Off, and its brand new KINO LORBER 4K Blu-ray that just came out. So Face Off is directed by John Woo. It was originally released back in 1997. John Woo is one of those big-time action directors. He's probably most known for his Hong Kong work with films like Hard Boiled, Killer, and then eventually came to the United States and he did such movies as Hard Target, Broken Arrow, the first time he actually worked with John Travolta. And then he did this movie in 1997 with John Travolta and Nicolas Cage. And John Woo actually is right now in the news. He just had another movie come out, his first US release in a very long time, Silent Night. And it shares a very big similarity with Face Off. In the opening credits of Silent Night, they kill off the main character's son, and he actually did that first back in 97 with Face Off, where he killed off Sean Archer's son. Nicolas Cage likes to point out in the movie, Nicolas Cage's Castor Troy, one of the coolest names I've ever heard of, pointed out that he wasn't trying to kill his son. He was trying to kill him, even though he just takes it so personally, and they bring that up a lot in this movie. And this movie is just a lot of fun, really leaning into a lot of the strengths of not just John Woo, but of John Travolta and Nicolas Cage, which is really funny because they weren't the first choices for this movie. They actually wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone, which makes a lot of sense in 1997. You know, they weren't really on top of the world anymore, but everyone remembers their rivalry throughout the 1980s and early 1990s. And, you know, they kind of did something similar, I guess, in Escape Plan. They did put him in prisons, but this movie just would not have worked with them. Yes, they are great over-the-top actors, but Nicolas Cage and John Travolta are asked to play the other actor, which I think is really, really fun from an acting standpoint.
Dress up like Halloween, and ghouls will try to get in your pants.
And I'm sure these guys had a blast. It looks like they had a blast on the big screen. I mean, John Travolta definitely gets the better end of the stick because Sean Archer, he's a very depressed man. He just really wants to get his guy Castor Troy because he killed his son. That's all he can focus on, nothing else. For 6 years. How they didn't take this guy off the case, by the way, blows my mind. It's going to be a full spoiler review, by the way, because there is so much I want to dive into in the plot of this movie, because the plot and the story is just ridiculous and over the top and just, you know, some stuff that is just so unbelievable. And this movie was very well acclaimed at the time, and I think it's because the action in this movie is just so well done. We get all the great John Woo-isms in this. We get white doves, we get the slow down shots, we get a character using two guns while sliding down something. You know, he's sliding down the center of two escalators. Like, that is just right out of a John Woo film. So much slow motion in this movie. Some incredible action sequences. Some of the best action sequences to come out of the 1990s, between the opening one on the runway and then the last big speedboat chase scene at the end of the movie, which they actually used for proof of concept for this movie. They shot it without the actors just to prove what they could actually do in this movie. This was the first movie where John Woo got full creative control, and it shows on the big screen because everything just looks absolutely gorgeous. It doesn't look like they used any CGI in any of the action sequences. I think only part they use CGI in is when they're actually taking the faces off these people, because it's got a sci-fi twist on this, even though it feels very much like a straightforward action thriller film. No, it's got a sci-fi twist because I'm pretty sure in 2023 you can't actually swap two people's faces. I just don't think that's possible, you know, to have people not be confused about how the hell this person went into surgery. Looks the same, but now he's just acting like a complete asshole. How Sean Archer's family didn't figure out that wasn't him is beyond me. Now, I get not realizing that Castor Troy is Castor Troy because he went through a traumatic event. He almost died, so maybe he wouldn't come out the other side the same, but John Travolta's character, he was fine. Everything was cool. Now he's just a complete and utter asshole. You know, he's basically hitting on his own daughter at this point. His wife, you know, she gets laid for the first time in a few months, and maybe that's why she didn't want to say something. At first, she's like, oh, you know, this is the best that Sean Archer has been since our son died. You know, let's just let this play out because, you know what? Haven't done that in months, and it was probably the best we've ever had. So I understand what they were going for, but it's just so hard to believe, and that's the biggest flaw to this movie, is that it's just so over the top, ridiculous when it comes to the plot and story to this movie. Some of the lines that these characters are asked to say. Now,
You know, I can eat a peach for hours.
don't get me wrong, this is not a complaint. These are the kind of action movies I just absolutely love. I love the 1990s cheesy over-the-top action movies, especially from Nicolas Cage. In 1996, he did The Rock, and then in 97, he did this and Con Air. Con Air is my favorite of the three movies, but all three of those movies are ridiculous, over-the-top action films where you're just not supposed to believe what the hell is going on, because you're not supposed to buy into any of this stuff. Again, we're talking about the Federal Bureau of Investigation here in the United States, and they would have took this guy, Sean Archer, off this case years ago. They would have never let him pursue his vendetta against Castor Troy. It's very personal. He's costing, I'm guessing, the country hundreds of millions of dollars because he's just got to get out there. At one point early in the movie, he jumps in a helicopter to chase down a plane. He would have been fired instantly if he did this in real life, but we're not supposed to think about that kind of stuff. You're supposed to just sit back, eat a bowl of popcorn, and just have so much fun watching these amazing choreographed action sequences. The John Woo gun fu. Before John Wick, we had John Woo doing all of this in his movies, and those action sequences, again, are just absolutely gorgeous. He's still got it too, but I just wish that Silent Night kind of had this tone, and that's what I was expecting from Silent Night, was this over-the-top action, cheesy, funny tone, you know, where you're not supposed to take it too seriously. I mean, John Travolta is rubbing his hand down his wife and kids' faces all the time. I just wouldn't allow that, you know, but I guess that's a way you know that's him because he's the only freak show in the world that would absolutely do that. I just would be like, don't touch me. That's weird as shit. But you know what? That's what he does. That's how people know that's Sean Archer. And it just feels like Nicolas Cage and John Travolta are having the time of their life on the big screen. You know, getting to play the other actor has to be so much fun. And I'm sure for the other actor watching them do their impersonation of them, it must be a blast as well. John Travolta definitely gets to have more fun, and he's definitely doing the more work as far as the overacting goes. But I guess as an acting standpoint, to play the more reserved character is probably more boring. And that's what you ask Nicolas Cage to do in this movie. He's got to play the more depressed Sean Archer, while John Travolta gets to play the more over-the-top, flamboyant, a guy who could eat a peach for hours, Nicolas Cage's Castor Troy. So he's definitely having a blast in this movie, and I love watching John Travolta in this movie just have a great fucking time. His career was saved in 94 with movies like Pulp Fiction and Broken Arrow. Then he did Get Shorty in 96, I believe, and then he did this in 97. So we were getting some of the best John Travolta we had seen since the early 1980s, and it was really a blast to see him having this fun overacting in the 1990s. He did Swordfish not too long after this, so this is probably my favorite time for John Travolta. I know many people love his late 1970s, early 1980s stuff, but for me, 1990s John Travolta is when John Travolta was firing on all cylinders as an actor. Yes, it's over the top and cheesy, but as somebody who loves over the top and cheesy, and this movie in general, this is actually my favorite John Woo American film. I think Hard Boiled and The Killer are still better films overall. You know, we still have to add the American touch to this movie.
What about to Anderson, Montgomery, Pincus, Janelli, Winters?
And this is by far his best American action film. I know people like Mission Impossible 2 and Broken Arrow, but I think this one is just John Woo firing on all cylinders, showing that he has complete creative control, and that over-the-top, cheesy, silly tone fits more in this movie than it does in a movie like Mission Impossible 2, where that movie just stands out in a franchise that at this point is considered one of the greatest franchises in film history, and Mission Impossible 2 is considered the worst in that, and I just think it just stands out in the crowd, unfortunately, and it doesn't stand out in the best way. But when you give John Woo a movie like this, a movie like Face Off with good special effects, great action sequences, and over-the-top cheese, this is the kind of movie that John Woo makes better than anybody else, and I absolutely love Face Off. It's one of my favorite action movies of the 1990s because it is a lot of fun, except for the ending of this movie. We're going to talk a little bit about that right now because, you know, at the end of this movie, these two parents, John Travolta's John Travolta again, and it turns out Castor Troy had a son. It was about the same age as his dead son, and he decides, well, we haven't been able to heal since our son died. I'm going to bring home Castor Troy, the guy who killed our son's kid. Also, that guy who made love to my wife, not realizing it was Castor Troy. So now I'm going to bring home his son and ask my wife and daughter, hey, can we take in this kid, you know, and raise him as our own? Because he needs a place to stay. Can he stay here with us? And of course they're going to say yes, because what would they do if they said no? It's like, all right, well, that's it. Back to the orphanage with you. Would have been really messed up, but the ending to this movie is just, again, it ties perfectly into it. We have to do the overly dramatic, happy ending to make sure we tie everything together. I mean, there's like haze in the background, so maybe it's a dream sequence. I don't know, but it's just really too hard to believe after all the events that happened, but it fits perfectly into this type of movie. So again, it's a huge recommendation from me. Definitely check this movie out, and if you want to, maybe you want to check it out on this brand new KINO LORBER 4K Blu-ray that we're going to talk about right now. So here it is, the 2023 KINO LORBER 4K Blu-ray, and I actually was comparing it to my previously released, I think this is a 2008 scan, but it had a couple re-releases, and then there was actually another Blu-ray release for this movie, but I compared it to the scan that I've had for a very long time with a very dated menu system, by the way. looking through the menu system in this compared to this was very frustrating. When you look at the packaging, it's standard KINO LORBER packaging, so they like to keep everything uniform. Anytime you have a KINO LORBER 4K Blu-ray, you know, the base of it is in black. You get a nice slipcover. Again, everything looks the same, so when you put your KINO LORBER 4K discs together on the shelf, they all look great. They all look uniform, but there's just no pizzazz to it. So you see, you get the black finish on this one, the same exact artwork that's on the front. And again, we're talking KINO, so when we come inside, you get one 4K Blu-ray disc, one Blu-ray disc in the KINO LORBER design. They do not do individual disc design. They just do their own in-studio design, which, again, it's not a complaint, but in comparison to other studios like even the Criterion Collection, Shout Factory, Arrow Video, Vinegar Syndrome, you know, there's nothing that really pops out at you. They want to go for this nice clean look, and it does kind of work for me in the sense that I like what KINO LORBER does with their transfers and their choice of catalog titles that they choose to release. I think it's really preserving classic films. Now, you might not say that Face Off is a classic film, but it kind of fits in line with movies like Out of Touch and Mystery Men that they have released in the past, like older, almost forgotten films. People forget that Face Off back in the 1990s was a huge mega hit. We had action movies coming out like this all the time in the 1990s. Armageddon's only 2 years later. People love these movies in the 90s. Now we make fun of them. I make fun of them, but it doesn't mean we weren't having a lot of fun back in the 1990s watching these movies. And I love that KINO LORBER is the ones preserving these movies on beautiful, gorgeous 4K. So how are the visuals on this? Well, when I was comparing it to the previous release for Blu-ray, which actually isn't that bad, they overused DNR in it and took all the grain out of it, so that was very noticeable at first. But overall, not a bad Blu-ray scan. It looked pretty damn clear. It wasn't very fuzzy, so they actually did a pretty good job. It actually does a good job of hitting the deep blacks while retaining the color, so it doesn't feel too dim or dark or anything like that. They actually did a pretty good job on that scan. Is it the greatest? Absolutely not, but for the age of that scan, it is pretty damn impressive. But when you jump now to 4K Blu-ray with Dolby Vision and HDR10, even comparing it to the Blu-ray that is packed in here, because the Blu-ray that's packed in here, that's going to have all of your extras on it. And it's all previously released extras except for one new audio commentary track with an action film historian, and that's it. You get all your previously released audio commentary tracks, all your previously released extras, which does feature a fantastic documentary that's about over an hour long. Yes, it's edited together featurettes, but still, all those featurettes are awesome. You can watch that on the previously released Blu-ray as well. You can hit play all or watch them separately, so it's really your choice. Now they're all edited together into a good documentary, which I really, really, really appreciate. They leave no stone unturned. You get deleted scenes. You also get a 26-minute, like, in-photo documentary about John Woo talking about his life. Love that as well. And then because it's KINO LORBER, they put a trailer for about 7 other movies that they have released on here. It's really just to make that extras list look longer because it's trailers. It really bothers the hell out of me that they do that, but it's not a big deal. It's not even something worth complaining about. It's just to make that list look fuller, which is just kind of disappointing. And then when you get into the audio, so when you click it on the Blu-ray disc, it's got a DTS HD 5.1 and a 2.0, and that's it. You have to pick your audio commentary tracks in the extras menu, whereas on the 4K disc, when you go pick your audio, you'll have the commentary tracks in that menu. So it's a little bit strange that they did it that way, but just pay attention to that depending if you're watching the Blu-ray disc or the 4K disc. And the audio did receive an upgrade. It doesn't promote it, but this was previously released with a Dolby Digital 5.1 and a DTS 6.1, which was following this around for a long time. And my Blu-ray disc actually had both of those audio tracks. Now, both those audio tracks have been removed in favor of a DTS HD 5.1 and a 2.0 mono track. And I really think that the audio is pretty damn solid, but it's not the greatest audio. I think they did a good job with the action sequences, but this is such an action-heavy 90s movie that a Dolby Atmos or even a DTS X track would have really been appreciated for this. They really just have the audio moving around the room, have gunfire flying around you. They did a good enough job. Like, I don't really have too many complaints. The last and final boat chase scene in this movie was probably the best shining star of the audio. You know, it was heavy on the bass. All the gunfire was flying around the room. It really felt loud and heavy, but yet the dialogue was still crisp and clear, so I couldn't really complain too much about it. Like, just many things about this 4K Blu-ray. It's just, it was all really good, but nothing ever escalated to the level of greatness. And I've always felt like that's KINO LORBER's biggest flaw, is that they release some really good, high-quality 4K Blu-rays, but they're just never the best. Nothing that ever stands out in the crowd. You know, last year we had, or actually this year rather, we had 3 Days of the Condor. The Night of the Hunter, and I thought those were great 4K Blu-rays, but I still never thought that they were the best released 4K Blu-rays. Now, the visual upgrade is noticeable. It's definitely noticeable in comparison to the previously released Blu-rays because you get that HDR10 and that Dolby Vision. It's definitely going to increase the brightness. We get the return of the film grain to make everything look a lot more clearer. The skin looks more natural. There are some scenes in this movie, though, where the skin color just looks a little bit off. I'm going to chalk that up to lighting. The first opening scenes, like while the opening credits are going on, when you get Nicolas Cage just being an absolute psychopath and spinning his head around while that choir is singing and he's setting the bomb. I'm guessing they filmed that somewhere real because the lighting in that is not great, and I think that was affecting the visuals on that because I was like, oh my god, this isn't going to be a good looking 4K, is it? But then once we get past that and we go into the opening action sequence on the runway, then everything looks great. You know, we get close-ups on John Travolta's face, and you could just see every little bit of hair. You could see every little blemish on his face, every wrinkle. You know, you get that weird chin that he even brings up in this movie, which I think is pretty damn funny. You could just tell that everybody was just having a blast making this movie. No problem being self-deprecating. So that was really funny. Really appreciated that. And then I was like, okay, I could take a sigh of relief. The 4K is definitely a big jump and improvement in quality as far as the visuals go. But again, nothing that really blew me away. A lot of the exterior scenes look better than some of the interior scenes. I'll just chalk that up to source material and lighting. Overall, it's still visually an upgrade over the previously released Blu-ray. Even the Blu-ray that's packed in here is a pretty big jump from the previously released Blu-ray, but not the biggest jump you've ever seen. So I would have to say definitely like taper your expectations on this because you are definitely going to get a visual and audio upgrade, no updates to your extras. You know, you get one new audio commentary track. You're going to have nice packaging, just not premium packaging, standard KINO LORBER packaging, which I appreciate, but again, nothing that's going to blow you away. And that's just the best way to describe this. The price isn't too bad. It's $26. That's pretty damn good for this. I think at $20, that's the perfect price because you're getting an upgrade, you're getting some new stuff, but just not enough new stuff. So $20 to $25 is fair for this release, but if you can get it on sale, that's how I'd recommend it. How would I rate this 4K Blu-ray at a score of 1 to 10? I would still give it a solid 8 out of 10. I was slightly disappointed by it, but not overly disappointed. If this was $35, I'd be a little bit more offended, but for $9 cheaper, I think it's overall pretty damn good. Feels in line with a lot of other KINO LORBER releases, and I really appreciate them bringing upgrades to movies like Face Off that could have got lost in the crowd and not been updated for years. Now I'm asking KINO LORBER, hey, can we update The Rock and Con Air? I want that trifecta of Nicolas Cage 90s action movies all on 4K. Face Off is the first one to come to 4K, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really glad I have it. I just expected a little bit more from it. That's my only real complaint about it, but I could still recommend it. But guys, it's also Monday, and that means it's time to kick it over to Future John for this week's Digital Code Giveaway. That is correct. It's Monday, and that means it is time for our Digital Code Giveaway. So if you're new to the channel, we do this every single week here. On Friday's video, I'll ask you guys 2 Digital Code Giveaway questions. All you have to do is answer one in the comments section below. As long as you do that, you come back to this video that we put out every single Monday. We put your name on a magic wheel, and we spin that bad boy 2 times. The 2 names it lands on, they have their choice of the digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And actually, we're going to spin this wheel 3 times this week because one of last week's winners didn't actually claim their digital code. So we'll spin it a 3rd time, and somebody else will win a digital code this week. And also, guys, next week's digital code giveaway video is actually going to come out on the 26th. There might be a video out on Christmas Day, but it won't have the digital code giveaway attached to it. I'll remind you guys on Friday again, but I just want to be upfront with you guys. Next week, we'll pick our winners on Tuesday morning, so look out for Tuesday's video, December 26th. That'll have our digital code giveaway winners, but still, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. We'll do the questions this upcoming Friday. But this week, I asked you guys, what was your favorite Kurt Russell movie, and what was your favorite movie twist of all time, or one that just shocked you, that you couldn't believe, and it came out of nowhere? And those were pretty much all over the place, but I would have to say that the big ones won. You know, The Sixth Sense. I had a couple for Gone Girl. I actually only got Fight Club once, which really surprised me because that was probably the one that really shocked me the most. Somehow Fight Club didn't get spoiled for me, but The Sixth Sense did. They came out the same year. I don't know how, but Fight Club, I had no idea what the hell was going on at the end of that movie the first time I saw it. And Kurt Russell, The Thing definitely won by a landslide, which, you know what? I can't disagree because that would also be my choice for favorite Kurt Russell performance, but we did get a few for Overboard, and I absolutely love Overboard. I grew up with that movie. It's, it is one of my favorite Kurt Russell performances, and, seeing him and his real-life partner working together on the screen like that, I just thought it worked out really well. I love Overboard. Obviously a lot of that is nostalgia, but still a huge fan of Overboard, so I was really happy to see a bunch of people pick that. Everyone who answered one of the questions this week, really do appreciate that. I just have fun talking movies with you guys in the comment section, but enough of me rambling on. Let's see who this week's digital code giveaway winners are. First wheel spin coming up.
Whoa, taking the elevator, going up. Got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up, I'm coming up.
Ray Tossi. Ray, you gonna remove your name? Spin again.
Whoa, taking the elevator, going up. Got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up, I'm coming up.
Teddy Graham. Remove your name.
Whoa, taking the elevator, going up. Got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm in love with the good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up, I'm coming up.
Bill Haru 00. And there you have it. Ray Tossi, Teddy Graham, and Bill Haru 00. All three of you guys have won in the past, so you guys know how this works. Reach out to me at my email address, letstalkentmt@gmail.com, or you could always reach out to me and direct message me at Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter/X, whatever the hell they're going by this week, and let me know which of the digital codes you want. As long as one of the other winners didn't take the digital code, that digital code is all yours. And for everyone who didn't win, don't feel too bad. Make sure you guys come back to this Friday's video. Like I said, we'll do this all over again. We'll have 2 new digital code giveaway questions for you. And if you did enter this week's digital code giveaway and you didn't see your name on the magic wheel, make sure you reach out to me as well, because you just won yourself a digital code, because you shouldn't be punished for my mistake. And also, guys, just a couple channel updates for you. If you are a channel member, this month we are going to be giving away Waterworld on 4K in this nice Arrow Video Collector's Edition. To have a review on the channel for this one. This is actually my copy. Only watched it once, but I'll be giving this away to one of our channel members. And you can join one of the 3 tiers we have here on the channel. You can become a channel producer like John Doe Juggalo and Jason Martin, or you can even become a channel director like Kevin Kruger and Frank Rodriguez and have individual reviews made for you each and every single month that will be posted publicly here on the channel. This week we're actually going to have Kevin Kruger's choice review of Christmas Evil, which was a big surprise to me. So look for that review this week on the channel. And you guys can join one of those tiers if you'd like to, but it's no pressure at all. If you can't support us that way, the best way to support us is just by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and just getting out in those streets and telling your friends about us. And then we'll be seeing you around.